Do you ever feel like you're being watched? Like your every move is being monitored and analyzed? From your home to your car to your workplace, there are eyes and ears everywhere. Well, you're not alone.
Government is monitoring private phone calls, your children and my children's private phone calls. And
after more than a decade of promises to do better, how is today's apology different, and why should we trust?
The 1,789 requests for authorization, one was withdrawn by the government. All the other ones were granted.
It's a rubber stamp.
It's a rubber stamp.
Top secret court order is forcing Verizon to turn over all phone records for calls made.
Does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
In 2013, a man by the name of Edward Snowden leaked some government documents. But these weren't just any documents. These were documents from the National Security Agency, also known as the NSA. This event would send shockwaves all around the globe. These revelations rocked the world and sparked an intense debate on privacy and national security. Snowden's leak exposed the extent of the NSA surveillance programs. This brought to light the lengths to which the NSA were willing to go for the collection of phone and internet data on millions of people. The leak also showed how the agency was spying on foreign governments and even taping into the phones of world leaders. As a result of his actions, Snowden was left with no choice but to flee the country, to avoid a life behind bars. Eventually, Snowden was accepted by the Russians and ultimately was granted citizenship by President Vladimir Putin. To some, Snowden was hailed as a hero, a man of courage who dared to defy the powers that be in the name of truth and transparency. Yet to others, he was vilified as a traitor, a turncoat who had betrayed his nation and jeopardized its security. Amidst the conflicting views and the fog of uncertainty, one thing remained clear. Snowden's actions had unleashed a Pandora's box of secrets and lies, exposing the shadowy underbelly of a world shrouded in secrecy and deception. And now, as he vanished into the night, betrayed by his very own nation, one thing is certain, for he had become a figure of myth and legend, forever stamped into the history books, a man who had dared to challenge the establishment and paid a hefty price for his audacity. But this was an incident that occurred due to a leak. What if the government was to pass a law that made all this legal? 3 years after the Snowden leaks, the UK Parliament passed a new law that gave unprecedented power to a number of British authorities. But what exactly did this controversial legislation entail? And what impact has it had on privacy and civil liberties? The Investigatory Powers Act, also known by many as the Snoopers Charter, gave the government the ability to monitor and collect vast amounts of its citizens' personal data without a warrant. Meaning that every email, every message, every website, as well as many other platforms that you visit, could now be monitored by government authorities. Understandably, this became a subject of much scrutiny, which made it a prime breeding ground for protests. So why? Why should everyone's right to privacy be compromised? It is argued that it is in fact for the benefit of all, that it is for tracking terrorists and other extremist or potential extremist groups.
Some very, very sketchy details reaching us here at Sky Centre. Important enough to bring to you, though, at this early stage. We believe that a plane
here in New York, I'm Ryan Gumbel. We understand that there has been a plane crash on the southern tip of Manhattan. You're looking at the World Trade Center. We understand that a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center. We don't know anything more than that.
Ever since the 9/11 attack, the British government, like many others, has been on high alert. Measures have been talked about for years, and small steps have been taken for the prevention of such atrocities. It just so happens that this step was a much larger one, for they believe that in order to prevent these types of events, considerable action must be taken beforehand. And boy, was this considerable. While most people can agree that keeping an eye on those types of organizations is detrimental, a question still arises. What happens when the wrong person decides to use their newfound power and abuse it for their own personal gains? After all, they could do this without even procuring a warrant. Privacy and national security. It is up to governments to strike a balance between these two interests and ensure that any measures taken to enhance national security do not infringe upon any individual's right to privacy. There are no easy solutions, and so we must continue to scrutinize the actions of governments and hold them accountable for any potential abuses of power. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.